Okay, welcome everyone to another The People Speak Out. And I've been rushing a bit this morning. So I'd love to just begin with a 60-second alignment, which is something I always love to do, but often forget sometimes. So let us just take a moment to fully land in the space, straightening our spine, feeling our feet flat on the floor, unfolding everything, or maybe just the chair beneath your sitting bones. Closing your eyes and taking 3 long deep breaths in through the nose and blowing out slowly over the bottom lip. Maybe doing a sigh on the out breath if you need to release any tension. Dropping from the busy mind into the body, into the heart. Feeling your nervous system calming and relaxing, coming out of everything you were doing before today's call and everything you're due to do later, so we can all be fully present in the now moment where the power is. So, very interesting times. And I just wanted to say up front that all voices are welcome on The People Speak Out. All views are welcome. And we are here to hold the space without judgment and for people to express whatever is coming up for them. Because this is my sense that these are really strong times, and I'm certainly feeling it in my world, in my life, and I'm observing it and feeling it in the collective as well. Maybe it's just my imagination. Jane's shaking her head. I'm slightly hesitant to even touch on the subjects of some of the shit that's unfolding, because of course on the principles of the law of attraction, what we focus on we get more of. So we want to be, as Pam Gregory, the astrologer, would say, starving out the scary and feeding the good, and focusing on the more beautiful world that our hearts know is possible. And I guess the challenge for that comes when we witness, through even just walking through the supermarket and glancing at all the newspapers or something, because I certainly have really tried to switch off from the horror bombardment, but still catch little bits and I can feel myself going into a downward spiral of kind of doom and gloom, despair. And it's quite horrific what's unfolding, and some of the kind of doomsday scenarios which are being energized at the moment. And welcome to Sass, who's just joined, and to Morven and to Stuart as well. I think I've said hello to everyone else. So if anyone would love to come on and share what is coming up for them, news and views, and if you feel that you want to speak to the horror show, then please do that, because there's no rules and regulations in The People Speak Out, and it really is an open forum for you to share what's coming up for you. So over here, just speaking personally, I'm going through quite a challenging time, and really having to remind myself that this is all a game, and it's like any time the waves hit our ship and blow us off course, it's just that reminder to keep coming back to center, and to keep, my answer if I get plunged into places of despair is just to keep handing it over and praying and handing it over to God, sort of thing. And just keep coming back to that alignment, come back to center, and keep clearing our energy field. And I'm sure we've all got our go-to remedies. Certainly for me, just going out into nature, walking Kobe, going to the beach. Those are beautiful ways just to come back to that 0 point. Also, some simple things like every morning, I make myself a cacao smoothie with raw ceremonial cacao, a banana, something like coconut milk, some ice, some cinnamon, some agave to give it a little bit of sweetness. And I just can really feel that shifts my whole energy with that heart opening. Cacao is a plant medicine for the heart, actually. And it's just a really beautiful little remedy that I find very soothing. So I'm sure you've got your own salves and ways that you bring yourself back into alignment. So I'm going to, I'll come to David. David's got his hand up because I'd like to get as many of you on the call as possible. Great to hear from everyone.
Hello. Hello, Rachel. Hello, buddy.
Have you got some background noise? I think everyone's muted. Cool.
Yeah, sorry, it might be me. I'm kind of outside a cafe, so it might be a bit noisy around me.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, so basically, thank you for that. Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about the energy, how we're having everything thrown at us at the moment, it would seem. I kind of like try not to look at the newspapers if I can, but I'm always chuckling when I look at them because every time I do so, it's all the worst case scenarios. Online, I get all these like pop-ups on the internet saying World War III and, which part of the UK to avoid if you want to avoid a nuclear strike, all that kind of nonsense. And I'm like, oh, for goodness sake. So I think everything's been thrown at us at the moment. And it is incredibly challenging for me to stay as centered as I can and try and stay as optimistic as I can. But something I've noticed online is, I go on YouTube quite regularly, and I notice often the most popular videos on YouTube are the ones that promote conflict and division, and also on our own side, people on their own side who are, kind of talking about conflicts between different groups, they get thousands of views. And yet often the videos that don't get many views and the shadow banned really are the ones to promote unity and love and humanity. And I think it reflects a lot about the current times, really, where not only are we being shadow banned anyway, but also people seem to be generally drawn towards conflicts, even if it's just conflicts, which are good conflicts.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's like outrage, division, drama sells. So it's like the Cartman drama triangle. And so all of this kind of, the big bad bully, the Trump's the big bad bully, and you've got the victims, and then you've got this persecutor victim rescuer drama triangle undercurrent. And it underpins all of entertainment and soap operas and Hollywood. And it's a classic way to engage people. And the thing is, when I look at some of these, I try to sort of pull back and look at it from a bit of an eagle's eye view. And I just imagine what it must be like to be a journalist, for example, one of the very few journalists clinging on by the fingernails to their job and having to churn out this crap. Otherwise, they're going to get sacked in an environment where sales are plummeting, newspaper sales are dropping, and these like the Daily Fail and the Fail on Sunday and all the rest of them, they're desperate for clicks and all of these. This is another interesting thing. All of these accept all your cookies, otherwise you have to pay, because I reject all. So I won't go on sites where I've got to accept their cookies, because I just won't. And so it's like, if you don't accept the cookies, you can't read the article or whatever. And so fair enough, I just won't bother reading it. But it's like the headlines get ever more desperate to get us to just click on the yes, because I really want to read this, you know. So I just have to step back and opt out of that. Ah, so so Dave, what are your go-to kind of remedies?
I think for me, I mean, I always talk about it each week actually, but stand in the park is a massive relief for me. I only go once a month, sadly, myself, but we bring along the gazebo to Yeovil Nine Springs Country Park and a table and loads of leaflets. And just to be
Nice.
around that loving kind of space where I've got other people around me who have got similar views. And the lovely thing is that we have people walking past our stall and our gazebo who may or may not agree with us, but we welcome their opinion. We're happy when they stop and talk to us, even if they come and criticize us. It's still talking to us. And this
Yes.
is what terrifies these beings, as I keep calling them. And the fact we could communicate with each other. Heaven forbid humans talk to each other face to face. So big shout out to them and also to their outreach. They do an outreach every once a month in Sherborne on Market Day, and it's increasingly they're not getting hostility like they had before.
Yeah.
People will
Yeah.
either ignore them or else they'll actually come up and give them compliments, members of the
Nice.
public. So yeah, so that's really cool. I also do
Great. Thank you.
videos. I'll share a
Well,
video link as well to my Love and Freedom videos because I do a lot of videos on this as well and what we're doing.
oh, great. Okay. And that's just reminded me, I haven't got the chat open, so I should just open that and keep an eye on the
You.
chat. So I will come to Morven next and then to Corinne, but I just wanted to add something onto that, that it's my sense is that there's a similar thing to lockdown happening in the sense of stay at home, don't travel, and the uncertainty over petrol and prices and traveling and whether it will even be possible in the future. Because one of the things that I've noticed is that since all this unfolded with all the petrol oil price scares, that the tickets that we've been selling for our events, like the Red Deer Green Dragon and also the York one, have really, really just slowed. It's like there's a fear where people are like, they don't want to commit to anything, and it's kind of almost like another device to drive everything online, which is obviously that's where the money was in COVID for all these. It made more millionaires were made during COVID than at any other time in history because they drove everything online, and that's what they want. They want digital everything, they want AI controlled everything. And even conversations like this, which are being transcribed and listened to by AI, but they can't have access to those conversations which happen at Stand in the Park. So there's a whole gap in the machine, the knowledge of the machine, because it's unless it can listen through our phone or something. So yeah, it's so important that we keep these human interact face to face in person interactions. Cool. Okay, let's come to Morven and then we'll come to Karine. And anyone else who wants to speak, put your hand up because otherwise I end up just chatting and
Oh,
whatnot. Hey, Morven. Hi.
hi, lovely to see you. Thank you so much for holding this space. Uh, Thank you everyone for being here because I just needed to kind of let off a little bit of steam. It's lovely to hear from David about free, in the park, stand in the park. I ran a stand in the park group in Wimbledon back in about 5 years ago when it started, and it was great. It's still going strong, but now I'm in the West Country. I'm in near Gloucester, just near Gloucester, doing psychotherapy and also in a group you might not know about a little organization called Differently Aware Therapists.
Okay.
Differently aware therapists is a real thing, and it's the therapists who are awake as to these agendas. And we have our own Telegram group. Just to let you know that there are people, awake in different factions all over the time. So David, therapists are people who sort of hung on in there with the training. They're in the British Association of Counsellors and Psychotherapists. They're in the UKCP. They're in every bloody organization. They probably work in the NHS, stuff like that. But they don't, they don't necessarily. They value the freedom of mind and the freedom of the individual more than the organization. So it's just to let you know that's differently aware therapist is a real thing. But I just wanted to say too that there are every so often, I mean, there are two little groups here. There's one in Newent and there's another one in Red Marley. A bit like this little group here, we're just a bit awake and we have been for a number of years. But every so often, I think we all get these pieces of informative stuff that give us a brief history of the world. Things like I received something. It's not very long. I'm not going to read the whole thing out. So I received something on from another friend, from a friend who worked for the UN, and saying that now, we're in World War III, right? That kind of stuff. And then they go on to talk about the UN's agenda carefully throughout history, and that world wars are not accidents. There was World War I, 1914, all that. J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, funding both sides, Rothschild family, ruled Europe's war machine. Okay, the war created the 30 billion US loans. Yeah, every shell fired was a bond issued. Yeah, all that good. Yeah. And then we go more into looking at the history of France, UK, Russia, all the way through to Belgium, Central Powers, big breath, Germany, Austria-Hungary, Ottoman Empire, Bulgaria, neutral on paper, Switzerland, Sweden, Spain, all this, 4 years, 20 million dead, probably more on the Russia side, not covering that. Never mind, who knows? League of Nations was born, humanity's first attempt to centralize world order, it failed. That was just getting started. Then we start World War II. Well, that's why Russia wasn't in the first one. Right, poverty, humiliation, engineered chaos, created Hitler, apparently. Oh, right. So, and there's a part that will disturb you. American corporations were funding Nazi Germany. Oh, yeah, all this, right? BIS, one invasion, Poland before dawn. The world split again. Allies split again. All this, right? This is very short, actually. I'm trying to even shorten the short. So, America didn't win the war. America bought the war and invoiced the world afterwards. UN, World Bank, IMF, CIA created in 1947, M16 restructured. The unipolar world was not built by diplomats, engineered by bankers, right? And then it just goes on and on and on, right? And then so I read through and talking about how currency is going digital and the original structure is breaking, right? And how power is moving from the west to the east towards Asia, all that kind of stuff. Right. And then so all of this is there. And to be honest, when I read the whole thing, and it's a reasonably thorough history of finance and how it has moved in engineering human competition. I don't think it's just pure destruction. I think there's a lot of competition and a lot of scientific ingenuity going on throughout all of this. And then so there's a lot of, it just goes on. And so when I'd read it and I got to the end, I actually felt like I'd been, and this is the bit that sounds dramatic, the victim in the drama triangle, right? So I read it and then it's like, I felt like I'd been kicked in the stomach. And I was down for about 2 days. I was like, just down as the dust settled. Right. And then I kind of kept processing it. And I thought, oh God, what do we do with all this? It's like dragging around, like tons of baggage. Anyway, so I kind of came to the conclusion that there is a competition going on amongst maybe there's a competition going on in our community of awake people, and it's who can be the best bugler. Like the person who wrote this and sent it, they've put something together, a piece of information, And it's fairly complex, it's fairly powerful, but what are we doing with this information? Because I'm not finding it empowering at all. I mean,
Yeah.
if I was the Prime Minister, or Rachel, good God, if you were the Prime Minister, that'd be wonderful. But if any of us was Prime Minister, we couldn't do jack shit about any of that. Not at all. Nothing. Nothing. We could do nothing about any of that, right? And so it's only going to be the collective that can actually shift
Yes.
this monster off our tail, you know. And but what it is that I'm beginning to think about shooting down the bugler, because usually it's, you know what I mean by a bugler? The messenger.
Yes,
If you don't like the
I think
news,
so.
kill the messenger, right? Not a good idea, right? But it's like there are these figures, you know, in our community. Some of them are published authors, some of them have been in the media and they're not in the media anymore. Some of them are just very, very good communicators. Yeah. But they seem to be like scraping into the bone of the rotting carcasses of history.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I'm thinking, well, do you know what? I'm not interested in becoming traumatized because of how helpless I am,
Yeah.
or how helpless all my friends are.
I
So
think it's
it's
important,
kind of
yeah,
like
to be.
really just wanting to create some kind of boundary, and that's where I am. So I'll just finish there. That's fine.
Yeah, thanks, Morven. And I think it's important to be discerning about what we share. And certainly, there's some content that I watch that I think, I'm not going to share it because I just don't want to put that out. But I just wanted to come to the back to the thing that you said about the awake therapists. What was it? Discerning therapists?
Yeah, differently aware.
Differently aware therapists. Please put the link in the chat. But I was reading something about saying that, well, the two things, someone was talking about AI and how AI is going to take all the jobs, blah. But the key thing that they can't take is the human jobs. And then there was another piece that the NHS were predicting that we'd need 7 million like therapists for mental illness, you know, another doomsday. But it seems to me that this world of way showers and therapists and awakened, those of us who can hold the space and keep turning to the light, keep helping everyone to turn to the light and like come out of the darkness, keep coming back to the light. That's going to be so important. And as we descend into the sort of AI, robotic, war, doom and gloom spiral, it's going to be so important. And that's, yeah, so it's, yeah, this a really interesting world, this world of therapists. And I guess then the big question is, where does the money come to pay for all of that? You know, because most, as a lot of people, we had these big discussions on A Dragon's Guide to Business that quite often if you're dealing with people who are ill or depressed, they're not in flow. So they don't have lots of money to be able to afford to pay for therapy. But then can it come from the NHS, and where's that money going to come from? And so it goes on. So we're back to that kind of loop. Anyhow, lots of interesting stuff, but let's keep going round, and I'll come to Karine and then Sass. So please put your hand up if you want to come on the call. We've got 35 minutes, got lots of time. So welcome all views, all opinions. Karine, let's come to you.
Hi, hello. Lovely spring day. Thank God we're this side of the spring equinox. So just a few tiddly things, really. But first up, my happy place is my allotment. And it's just, you know, all this stuff goes on and all this, and I go, you know what? Actually, I just want to be with the land, put my seeds in the ground, sing to the blackbird, kiss a flower, sing a song. So on one level, oh, that seems so very naive. But actually, that for me is turning to the earth and loving the earth. And we have Pam Gregory's, you know, quote, "We are welcoming in an ever expanding consciousness of love." And that's kind of like, that has to be at forefront in my world. So we've just had the Kindness Festival in Frome for the last 8 days, and it's been really just so gorgeous. So many gentle things, and the Grief Network and Companion Voices were singing at it. Oh, and I taught dance for the first time, and I don't know when I stopped teaching dance, but lots of really uplift and laughing and tender moments too. And it's really about that, good heart connection. One of the things, though, which was interesting for me, Rob Hopkins came to talk because the theme for the Kindness Festival this year was imagining, and creating a better future and the hope. So I've heard him before a long time ago, got one of his books, which I haven't read yet, however. And they were really inspiring projects, but I was really quite, I was quite annoyed actually. Within a minute of him speaking, there was a chart, and we're in this climate catastrophe. And it was almost like the whole premise of let's be better, is that, oh, we're all in fear, and that, it was just, he was really fear mongering. And okay, a lot of it was really positive things, but I found myself getting really annoyed because I thought, we have the climate models and we have the reality, and they're not matched up. And it's not to say some places aren't having drought, but then who's talking about HARP? Who's talking about geoengineering? Who's talking about the solar stuff going on, which is having a massive impact? So it was kind of really interesting. I mean, initially I thought, oh, fuck it. I'm just, excuse my language, sorry, and it's getting public. Oops. God, I just don't want to sit and listen to this. Well, I did stay there. I left a little early for questions, but it's really, really difficult because I know that so many people I know in the Greens, it's all coming from a place of love and care for the planet, in the same way that people took their jabs because of love and care for their grannies. So to sort of speak out or to say, well, it's far more complex, it's quite difficult. I mean, I do sort of sow seeds and say things are far more complex. And then, it wasn't part of the Kindness Festival, but in Frome we have a Let's Talk. So we're coming from the restorative justice. And I've only been to a couple of talks. But again, really, really useful information there. And it's like almost people go, oh, well, are we allowed to say the T word? And I'm thinking, oh, what's the T word? Oh, it's Trump. And it's like, okay, I know Trump's doing crap things, but actually I have also heard that there's a lot of other stuff that is going on. And it's for me, it feels everything is so complex. It's not just black and white and that person's a baddie, oh, and the rest of us are all okay. It's that whole thing with Watiko and projecting the negative and giving all that negative to one person. And I'm just sort of surprised, I suppose, that people are not more curious at digging down further into things without getting lost in it, of course, because we don't want to get lost in it. And there was a really interesting video. I hope I'm not blathering too much. There was a really interesting video that I saw of Sasha Stone being interviewed with, I think it was a guy called The Sovereign. I don't know. It was a YouTube thing, fairly recent. And it was very, very interesting because Sasha used to work with, or was, he never got paid. He said he never received money from the UN. But, he talks on that video about his connection or what he saw within the United Nations, and then he could say, 99% or 95% of the people who work there are doing it again with the best of intentions for humanity. But there's this other sort of sub bit which is not working it's really on the globalist agenda. So I don't know. I just sort of I thought I'd just share that really, because it's, again, everything is so much more complex than these headlines, or people go, oh, that person's bad. Well, they're not necessarily totally bad. And let's see who's obviously, and people, I just say, well, look, all world leaders, they're all puppets. They're all dancing to somebody's tune. So anyway, that's a bit of a rant. That's me.
Oh, it's great to hear from you, Karine. Thank you for that. It's quite interesting talking about the T words, because I do follow Trump on Telegram, so it is like hearing from the horse's mouth. So it's quite interesting to follow, and again, just to observe his ego being collapsed very publicly, because everything he claimed to stand for make America great again, and prices going down, and fuel prices at the tank going down, and the economy being better than it ever was, and the stock market being higher than it ever was. And he was the president of peace. To see that unravel so like before our eyes, all of these unraveling, and you can see that he's unraveling. And I can imagine, again, just sort of stepping back from it, I can imagine he's a man in absolute turmoil. He must be having dark nights of the soul. I would imagine. I'm sort of feeling compassion for him, believe it or not. So it's really interesting times. I'm going to come to Sass next, and then Annie. Thanks, Karine.
Yeah.
Sass, let's come to you. Oh, do you need to unmute?
Yes, it seems I can only unmute, Rachel, when you allow it. So you've got the control system in your hand.
I have actually allowed everyone to unmute themselves, actually.
Oh, really?
I think, but maybe I didn't.
Anyway, I'm unmuted now. So hi, everybody. Lovely to see everybody coming on and sharing their opinions. I'd missed the first bit because I don't know what it was, Rachel. Every time I put in your code into my Zoom thing asking for the passcode, it just kept saying wrong code, even though I was putting in the code you gave. So there was like some resistance to me getting in. I don't know whether it was coming from me or whether it was coming from a different energy source altogether. But yeah, so I missed the first bit, but I don't know whether you're focusing what your theme was. I obviously picked up that people were talking about their happy places. I just obviously my happy place, as probably people know, is where I'm entertaining people using sound to lift our energies. And I've just finished doing it. Well, I just ran a beautiful spring equinox ceremony to help people to focus on the changing times and the shift of the tide and the medicine wheel changing. Yeah. It's like, well, what effect has that got on our internal system? Because we can see it on the outside. So it's to bring attention to what's going on the inside and to bring the balance, the 12 hours of day and the 12 hours of night. It's like, what is the balance that we are finding within ourselves that then is going to have a greater effect on the external world? Because everything comes from within, so within as without. So we're all partly responsible for what's going on, because to me, it's like we gave our power away a long, long time ago for convenience. And the whole thing that's going on is this push for the Agenda 2030. So the whole war that's going on anywhere or everywhere, wherever it may be, it's all about pushing Agenda 2030. So we think it's about oil, because in a way it is, because if they reduce everybody's ability to access oil, then the economy goes into free fall because no one can get anywhere, no one can do anything. And then that's how they bring in the electric cars, because if you can't get anywhere and nothing can be transported, and they say, well, the only alternative is the electric cars and the 15-minute cities, and then you haven't got to get very far. So to me, it's about clamping people down, stopping people traveling, because if there's no fuel for the aviation industry, we can't go anywhere. Yes. So nobody can, not limiting sharing what we have, what information we have, as you say, on a physical level, where we meet people, we go to retreats, we share what information from different countries is all coming in. That is a way of shutting everything down. And then on the other hand, I don't know if anybody's ever come across the work of Jason Christoff. I've just put a link in the chat of his really interesting film about planet mind control. But he did a really interesting article, and I think I got it from somewhere else, but the whole thing of the Middle East is that right in Iran and Iraq, there happens to be the 10th Stargate, which is where they control all the information coming in to the horizontal grid around the Earth. So you've got vertical grids, you've got horizontal grids that go around the Earth, giving information and feeding the nature, feeding everything with the I think it's in the horizontal grid, it's the Fibonacci creation sequence. And apparently the archons, or whether you like to call them the draconians, whatever, the infiltration from other species from different planets that have been here for thousands of years, control this area. And they reversed the Fibonacci sequence, and I think it was the 55 sequence. They reversed it, so everything's imploded. So rather than life expanding and our connection to source and nature in a spiral going upwards, they've changed it so it's spiraling downwards. So that's where death comes in, that's where illness comes in, sickness, where things are being destroyed, basically. So that's what they're fighting over, because a group of people came and shifted that energy around there, and it started to bring back the Christ consciousness coming back through that open source, the open stargate, which was controlling the energy in the grids. And so that they've really ramped up trying to regain control. And one of the things that sort of strengthens the negative energies, if you like, is war, because of death, destruction, fear, and everyone goes into free fall and start to do as they're told because they're fearful for their survival. So this, in life, it really resonated with me. That's exactly what's going on. The grids are trying to be controlled because that's how they have a grip on the whole of the planet and the consciousness. So we've been cut off from source energy by this reversal of the Fibonacci sequence. So that's what's going on in Iraq and Iran, and the Middle East has always been this fought over. There's always been wars over there, hasn't there? So this is what's going on, in my opinion. And if you can look at that film, it might help give you people some more information, because I feel when we have the truth, or when we think we have the truth, or when we know a lot more, we feel much more empowered. We don't feel so much of a victim. And what's also interesting is a new program that I just noticed that came on, and I watched a little snippet of it just to see, and it's called Predator and Prey. Does anybody else notice that came on? And that's what they're telling you. So they've literally got groups of people that are preying on others and trying to capture them. And then they get taken out. And it says after you've been caught, there will then be a cull. And as you can see, the ramping up around the planet of all the chemtrails, it's like we're in the mass cull situation. Now, I don't want to put fear into people, but just keep on detoxing, like you're doing, Rachel, cleansing the liver, iodine to cleanse the body. That's a sort of cheap way of doing it. Just build up your iodine reserves, because they cleanse and clear and detoxify the body. And going on detoxes, drinking lots of ginger and turmeric, breathing around more sort of open spaces where there's water, station to the water, because we have got to redress that balance. That's what the equinox is all about. We've been in control. So the war is to try and regain control over this Stargate in Iran that feeds the system, or feeds the false matrix, and keeps us locked in this loop system where it's like we can't escape, and we're just recycled over and over and over again. So it's how do we get out of the matrix that has been, and there was a group that tried very hard and reversed it, but then they brought in the war to try and regain control. So that's what I feel is going on.
Yeah.
And that's what's destabilizing everything. But really it's to bring in that Agenda 30 to put us all in a digital box and with more layers to surround us, so that we can have less access to the source energy and the escape route out of the maze, as I call it.
Yeah.
So informing yourself, reading as much as you can, listening to other people that've got a grip on things, and understanding what's really going on behind this war helps you to sort of have more, okay, so what can I do on my personal level for myself and for my family, for my friends, for anybody I can bring into community to help. And it's a difficult balance, because it's like you don't want to put negativity out there and put fear into people, but we also can't just bury our heads in the sand like an ostrich and go la 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 la, don't hear it, which I see is a lot what's going on. Literally a load of ostrich bottoms sticking up in the air, and people not wanting to face the fact that our planet was infiltrated by other species from other planets that go around destroying and taking over the planets around our solar system. And they will be becoming more and more obvious as the sort of veil drops. So that's what they want to bring about, the apocalypse. And we have the main control by our own consciousness connecting to the source. So that is a really important place to be, is spending time in nature, connecting to that source. And I think you can, what was it, somebody somebody puts, what do they burn now? To clear away the skies, clear away all the chemtrails, because as you notice, it's been beautiful blue skies, hasn't it? I don't know where you are in Cheshire. It's been beautiful blue skies,
Yes.
and then about 3 hours they start doing the trailing. You can see the planes; they're going up vertically like that. I mean, there's no way there's any passengers on that plane. And then they're doing the loops. I've seen loads of crosses in the air. It's like they're really having a laugh. It's like, oh yeah, we're killing the bugs below, and they've got no idea, and we're just putting crosses, marks the spot. So there's so much energetically going on. It's like, how do you find your happy place and spend time in there, but also realize that we can't just ignore the dark. We can't just pretend it's not there. We can't not be aware of the fact that we have been taken over by these species. So when people say, well, how can the people do these things to one another? Well, they're not human. That's why. Even Princess Diana told us that. They're not.
Yes.
So that once we realise that it's not the humans that have taken over, it's other species that have not got our best interest.
Yes.
And they feed off us either physically, mentally, or emotionally, and we need to stop feeding them. So whenever I go into a rant or go into my anger or rage over something like the chemtrails, I then realise I'm feeding the beast system. So. A lot going on, and it's about coming together and finding strength with being with people who are open-hearted, loving, and spending more time in nature, and not being a part of the system, but realizing what's going on, but to step outside and witness it. But what can we do to bring about the shift of clearing this energy that is taken over but is losing its grip? That's why they're going into panic mode and trying to lock us all down.
Yeah. Wow, Sass, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm definitely a believer in Wetiko, the kind of parasitic, lower dimensional entity attachments that sort of find their way and work through people, particularly highly traumatized people. And so quite often if someone's in that dark place, it's actually Wetiko's driving the engine. It's like a parasitic, lower dimensional energy of evil. It's not connected to the light, basically.
No, but that's quite difficult because they did cut us off from that source.
Yes.
And so it's finding ways to reconnect to that energy.
That is it. It's like all of this is trying to disconnect us and to make the veil thicker and heavier, because there's so many of us thinning the veil, and the apocalypse is the lifting of the veil. So the more the veil is thinned, the more light comes through, and the Wetiko's got less places to hide. So it's all coming into the light, and it's going to be turned to dust, basically. So they're having to desperately bring the vibration down. That's my sense of it.
Yes. Hence the meningitis outbreak, which happened on the 13th of the month. It happened to 13 people, and they had a whole prepared plan called Pegasus. Does anyone know about that? Where they ran a mock.
Yes, I heard.
Yeah, which went on in Kent, and they said some of the symptoms of the COVID jab were actually meningitis. So meningitis isn't a disease; it's actually an inflammation, like all itises, of the menses in the brain.
Yeah.
And apparently, there's loads of sewage and everything as well that they are spraying on the foods. Human sewage they're spraying on the farms.
Yeah.
And then that's what's causing this horrible fog that's making people ill as well. So they're trying to get in small angles. So we really have to be strong in these times, because they're wanting to take out as many of us as possible. Well, that's the agenda at the moment, is what they're trying to push towards. So
thanks, Sass.
Nothing of what you see and only half of what you hear.
Thanks, Sass. Let's come to Annie. Hi, Annie.
Hi, everybody. Right, you just covered something that I was going to cover there, Sass. I live in Canterbury, which is outside Canterbury, but it's where the meningitis started. And what was interesting was I volunteered for years at a homeless charity, which is right next door to Club Chemistry, and you can just see the end of it on all the pictures all around the world, and you just sort of think, gosh, how did that happen, and there's been a lot of psyops going on with this up at the university, and it's so easy to see. I think we've become quite able, cynical. And they've interviewed students, but they're not students. They don't talk like students. They're wearing University of Kent t-shirts. Why would you do that as a student? You just wouldn't. And every time they're interviewed, you can just tell it's a kind of fake thing. The worrying thing is they've been giving them antibiotics, and these antibiotics, it's called ciprofloxacin or something. And the side effects of it are symptoms like meningitis, inflammation of the brain, and quite serious stuff. So that's been going on. It's very weird. I made a note when you were speaking, Karine, about the allotment, and I'm just about to go down to mine, and I share it with awakened people, and I cannot tell you, it is the most fantastic experience to be digging in the soil and growing things to eat, surrounded by growing everywhere, and be with awakened people having the most extraordinary conversations. It's just the best thing ever. The other thing, there are two other things. Iran, the Straits of Hormuz. I lived in Iran for 3 years, or well, I was at boarding school, but I went out there. My father was in the Navy and based at a place called Bandar Abbas, which is in the Straits of Hormuz, and that was in the 70s until they got chucked out after the revolution. But it it was pretty, there was a lot of turmoil going on there that we've all forgotten about. The Straits of Hormuz, this isn't the first time they've come into play. But the sad thing is, the naval base and all the dockyards and all the area of this place in the Gulf and all the homes, we lived in Israeli designed and built homes which were earthquake proof. They looked like bunkers. They were great big concrete. They were really nice inside, but they were specially designed by Israelis to be earthquake proof. They've all gone. They've all been flattened, which is sad. So we're watching this. I don't know. I don't know what to think about anything at the moment. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was county courts. And I've been to court, not for myself, 3 times in the last 6 months. And there's two things. Today, you need ID to check you for everything. Online, wherever you go, you've got to prove who you are, you've got to verify it, and they need they're trying to get this digital ID and they're trying to verify everything. When you go to court, you go in and they check you for items that you're not allowed to bring in, and you go through the radiation thing and they search you and they confiscated, in my case, a stapler and a nail file in case I went rogue with those. Um, that's 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 one side. But once you're in the court and you appear in court, and I've been a Mackenzie friend twice, and I've been a supporter once, they don't ask, even for the plaintiff or the defendant, they don't ask who you are. You don't have to prove who you are. And I have been approached by the usher asking if I was a particular person. And I said, no, I'm not. And you don't sign anything, you don't declare anything. It just seems a real anomaly. And this goes on the court record. And I went to a case at the end of February, and it became very famous very, very quickly. And it was a friend of mine called Leslie Ross, and her partner is called Keith Dennis, and she had a final charging order on her house for non-payment of council tax, and they put up a fantastic defense, but the judge kept calling Keith Mr. Ross. That's not even his name. And So you're thinking, this is weird. We're in a court and they don't even know who's sitting in front of them. But what Leslie found was there were at the end of last year there was a case called the Mazur case, Mazur, and it a High Court judge ruled that in any case in court, um, um, documents that are filed by solicitors, they must be in the solicitor's name. And what happens in uh, council tax things is um, it's kind of illegal to make a claim on somebody's property and do it. So they use paralegals and they make a lot of mistakes. They put the wrong date on. They're not qualified. And on the say-so of paralegals, people lose their homes. And it's just extraordinary. A judge ruled in the High Court and said, no, any document that forces anything must be signed off by a qualified solicitor. And that was quoted. We used that. They used that in the court. And within the judge had to go away and sort of think about it, double check it all, and she came back and said she struck it out, the claim, and the solicitor for the other side said, "Can we appeal?" "No, you can't appeal." And so this set a ripple through everyone. Anyone dealing with these things at the moment, they've probably got a paralegal because the solicitors do not want to put their name to this thing.
Interesting.
So that is really, really powerful. And immediately somebody jumped in and tried to challenge it. And, and in the High Court. And the judge reserved judgment. They wouldn't go either way. So it still stands. And there's going to be class actions coming up of people who've lost their properties suing the councils for money back.
Wow.
And so that's going to be really, really big. And within that, by that, the judgment was at 2:30 in the afternoon, and by about 5 o'clock, various posts had 75,000 views and things. You know, it had gone absolutely viral. So there is a win coming here, and what we're seeing is these people have been like pirates. They've been grabbing people's property,
Yes.
hauling them to court, and jumping up charges of whatever, and all based on some paralegal who's got no standing whatsoever.
Yeah. Interesting. That is my sense that it's all gonna it's unraveling and it's gonna unravel further.
And on parking, this is my other hobby horse. I just want to I'm just about to launch an app. It's not quite an app, but it's the means by which people can challenge parking on private land. And I think I've mentioned this before about all the signage being wrong. I've actually had compensation from not a refund, compensation from car parking companies, because I've reported them to the heads of property of the landowners, which might be Tesco's or whoever. And you will win every time if you take pictures of the signage, because the signage is all illegal and it doesn't have planning permission, and they haven't got insurance because it hasn't got planning permission. So there's a site maybe with parking for 200 cars with no planning permission and no insurance. That is bad. That is bad. Anyway, it's coming down for the car parking companies because the Competition and Markets Authority from the government has just fined Euro car parks. So how much is it? £473,000 because they didn't reply to any of their letters.
Right.
They were querying them. NCP car parks has just gone bust.
Oh, that's interesting. I did
Yes,
notice that the Civil National Business Centre has set up a whole different separate department for parking fines specifically. So it's obviously a massive admin headache for the
it
number.
is. It is. It is. And we're winning. We're all winning. If you push back, these guys have absolutely no authority whatsoever.
Yeah, yeah, interesting.
Mm.
Wow, Annie, great to hear from you.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm just conscious of time. It's
Sorry, I
12:57. No,
ranted on a bit.
it's fine. No, it's great to hear from you,
Mhm.
Annie, as everyone. And Althea's got her hand up. So I think Althea will be the last person, unless anyone else quickly wants to slip in with a last comment. Um, put your hand up, but let's come to Althea.
Hi,
Hi.
everybody. Nice to see you all. Lovely to be here. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight what Val was saying and what Sass was saying and kind of bring it in here. And this is what I teach is being present with what is. I think I'm really torn between yes, know what's going on and do something about it. But on the other side, as you were both saying, and as many of us were saying, that we create our own reality where we focus. So I'm really sort of torn between the two sides. And I just want to remind everybody that you'll know this stuff, that you create your own reality. Where are you focusing? I've been pulling back off all the doom and doom and scrolling, because it's like, do I really want to watch this? How's this making me feel?
Yeah.
So I want to give a key point to everybody to, you know this stuff, but how's this stuff, whatever you're looking at, making you feel?
Mm.
Can you do something maybe positive about helping that situation, the chemtrails or whatever else it is? How does it make you feel? Because your emotional state is where you're at, and everything's going to reflect off that. So I just want to remind everybody of
Thank
the
you,
stuff we have
Althea.
inside. What's the reality you're creating in your world and your awareness?
Thank you. Morven, let's come back to you. You put your hand up.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that's true, and I think that there's got to be there's a synonymous. So it's like we're not wrong in taking in, like I was taking in this, mega drama of world history and how pointless it all is because of the bastards. Because of what all the bastards have done to us and how they've ruined the world. And then we get more and more informed about how much worse it is than we previously even considered or conceived upon because of one additional fact. Okay, so these facts actually might be important as well. So it's going to be synonymous along with, okay, I've read that, I've looked at that, how do I feel? I feel like I've been kicked in the stomach. Right. Okay, so I'll get on to Rachel. She's offering this for free. She's a bloody angel. I'm going to use the time to not be alone and to share it with the intention of it, hopefully being helpful in case it happens to anyone else. And then that is a synonymous thing. So when the bad things happen, they're not isolated and they're not your state for the entire day. They're there for a bit, but you guys are helping, well, we're helping each other to process this stuff.
Yeah.
And at the same time, yeah, it's like, Althea, you're bringing in the positive and you're bringing in that as well. And it's synonymous, it's here. And so is Sass, you're bringing in something constructive alongside what, where the rotting carcasses sit,
Yes.
So we've got all kinds of different things in the pickle. And
Yeah.
I guess they are just all here at the same time.
Yeah.
It's
It is.
mad.
I think it is good to shine the light of conscious awareness on what's unfolding without getting engaged with it. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? And then having an antidote to be able to come back into that alignment, to have antidotes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Morven. Okay, so it's 101. So I think we will call an end to the discussion for today. Thank you all so much for adding your voices to the People Speak Out. There's how many of us? 16 on here, but hundreds, maybe even thousands of people watch this over the months. We've been going for over 5 years now. So thank you for being the co-creators of this content and for keeping the conversation going. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time. Sass will be in the hot seat, and I'll be putting this recording up on my channel, and I may even include the chat in the notes to the video. Just thinking that as we're going through. So sending you so much love. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you for your energy and for your vibes, your good positive vibes. Okay, lots of love. Shh. Bye for now.
Bye.